Peggy and I are so glad you could join us this Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day for tomorrow.
And you, my dear, too,
and
all
Mother's
of you
Day
out there.
Yes, absolutely. So we've got a very appropriate Mother's Day show today because we're going to give you lots of great ideas because we're going to talk about color, color, color. I mean, what's better for than beautiful flowering plants and cut flowers and just pretty, pretty color. So
I think
lots of ideas throughout the show.
Mothers do appreciate all of that, and I'll never forget many, many years ago when I said to my husband, "Don't give me cut roses, give me the bush."
That's right.
And guess what? Barbara Bush Rose came out that
year.
There you
go.
So I got the bush, all right. So I just, of course, love the flowers and love the container gardening and the opportunity that it gives to absolutely everybody, how large or how small, to have beautiful flowers. Yes.
So we've got lots of ideas today.
And really, I think I would like to bring up the first picture that we have here because it's the epitome of spring. There's a reason why they call this spring greens. It's so refreshing, and while we've gotten a little annoyed with the late cool at times because it's been a little bit of a challenge for us gardening wise with the summer annuals, it also has extended the beauty of these spring greens too. So there's the flip side of that. But thinking in terms of color, particularly color in the shade, but everywhere for that matter. The spring greens are part of that color, but the Japanese maples, that's color that's with you throughout the entire season. You know, it's absolutely beautiful, and of course I have many over the years, but I love that color. And when the dogwood are finished and the azaleas are finished, which the late ones are in bloom now, some of the early ones are beginning to go, that's when we really turn to the need for the extenders, the summer color. And we're going to talk about that today and maybe introduce you to a few new plants, even some that I'm going to try this year.
All right, all right. Yeah, you mentioned the greens. I was just noticing, especially yesterday, how lush and green everything is.
It is.
The grass is beautiful. The trees are all leafed out now. You know, and as you say, it doesn't have to be flowers to be colorful. You know, it's just lots of beautiful color everywhere.
Totally beautiful.
So. Well, before we get started, wanted to mention a couple things. It is Mother's Day this weekend, so tomorrow we will be closing a little bit early on at all 3 Merrifield Garden Center locations. We're going to be closing at 5 instead of 6, just so we can go spend some time with our mothers and enjoy ourselves, enjoy our day. So just a little bit early, so we do hope you'll come by. You mentioned roses.
Right.
And the rose bush instead of the cut roses, which is so appropriate. We did get a lot more roses in, and again, the members of the Arlington Rose Foundation are going to be at our Fair Oaks location today and tomorrow from 11 to 3. So if you have any questions, actually they've got the big rose show coming up June 1st and 2nd. So
you need to put those people to work. They've got a lot of experience, they can share all of that, you know.
Right.
Absolutely.
And we've also got, this is very appropriate for this weekend, we've got a great selection of knockout roses that we brought in, a special group that are on sale this weekend. Gorgeous 5-gallon containers.
Everybody's into
plants, that. So great price. So come on in for that. So
really are.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay,
we don't have any seminars to talk about, unfortunately, so they'll be coming back soon.
Absolutely. We have ongoing seminars now.
Absolutely, there you go.
People with all their expertise are there to answer your questions. But let's bring up the next picture because we're thinking about containers. Containers are, as you heard me say many, many times, they're changeable, they're movable, they're so versatile regardless of where they are.
Right.
And this is a picture of a couple of years ago of spring with the bulbs. Now, I keep my containers, or at least a portion of them, going all season, for every season. There's something in there even for the winter season. I do a lot of boxwood, which go through the winter beautifully. But I put bulbs into my containers in the fall. And this is what you get in the spring. It's spectacular, and it's funny because Diane does our set so beautifully, and down front she has a wonderful pillow, and I noticed last week that people were looking at the pillows that Roseanne and Karen had stacked all over the place, and they're so beautiful. Well, you
bought a couple myself. Guilty.
Mother's Day.
That's right. Bought my own Mother's Day present.
You'll see some pillows there because that's a color pickup. You know.
Right.
I'm particularly focusing on shade gardening right now and trying to get that summer color in because, as we've mentioned to you on the show before, and I'm sure you've read about and experienced, that the bedding impatiens have a disease. It's in the ground, it's in the air, and we're told by all the researchers that it could be 5 years before we can successfully grow them again. This disease was in Europe and it crossed the ocean. We were hoping it wouldn't do that, but of course it did. And I have had no difficulty explaining this, really, to our customers as they come in because they all say, oh, that's why mine died last year. Yes. And so we've chosen not to carry them. Some people are growing them, but it's taking a lot of chemicals to keep them alive. And so now we're suggesting substitutes. And there are some beautiful substitutes. And in this next picture, I want to go through just a few of those substitutes again. This is from last summer, knowing that this might come in. And this is a lush area under an oak tree. It gets dappled light through the day, some morning sun particularly. Caladiums do well there. They are very colorful of leaf and they combine well with other things. The wonderful ivies do well there. The New Guinea impatiens, and there's a branch off that New Guinea, which is just another variety called sun patiens, because they'll take a little more sun a little more easily. They are not affected by this disease, so go for New Guineas. The begonias, and we're going to go more deeply into the varieties of begonias, but begonias are probably the best substitute you could find, and there's so many interesting ones. Plus the Gartenmeister fuchsia. It's amazing how many of these sun plants are also happy in shade.
Great. Okay.
So there's a lot, and we'll share more about that as we go along.
That's right. I was going to say, speaking of shade, we're going to talk some more about what's great in the shade when we get back. Stay tuned. There you go, Peggy. You were just talking about pillows. You get a great bum shot there. You got the pillow and you got the beautiful statuary. We've got so many great ideas for Mother's Day, throughout the stores. And I'm not sure if everybody knows at all three locations we have a wonderful home decor area. Just, beautiful decorating ideas. The displays are done so well. I was over at Merrifield yesterday, and it's a little more tucked in at the Merrifield location.
Smaller after all.
Well, it is. It's smaller, but great ideas. Beautiful, beautiful gift ideas.
Well, I think it's fun when I mentioned the pillow. That was a color pickup. And combining these colors, and there's just endless opportunities to do that. And we'll have the opportunity to do a little bit of that today, or you're going to see it in these pictures, because I invariably do themes.
Yes.
And change those themes through the year, okay? Yeah. Let's talk about shade again.
What is shade?
Yeah.
Okay. What is shade?
Well, there are differences, and you say this plant will take part shade. Well, what part? That's the important thing, okay? Because there are some of these plants that don't like, well, some of the begonias will certainly take it, some won't. Hot afternoon sun. Right. And so shade actually can be all day, and that's when you have shade from a building or shade from an evergreen, where you really don't get a lot of direct light, but there's enough reflected light to grow a lot of these plants. And certainly you can go to things like caladiums and go to the greenhouse, or use your house plants under those conditions where you don't get heavy flowering from things like begonias, okay? This was the one thing about the bedding impatiens. They did tolerate more shade than some things, okay? But generally speaking, most people have a good reflected light, good dappled light, okay? So that's basically what shade is.
Great. Okay.
And all the shade plants, all those will take full morning sun, okay? So that basically is what the shade thing is, yes. And I want to continue with what thrives there and point out some little tips of what you can do. This was preparation for doing those containers last year, okay? And it kind of looks like that right now. I've got the plants that I want to use set out, and I'm going to determine, I just haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but I will. And I will begin to decide what goes in what container. I have the plants I want to use, okay? But this was last year. Now, to get that instant effect, which I wanted with some of it,
right,
I picked up a basket of Scaevola. And that is a wonderful plant that will tolerate a lot of part shade or morning sun, okay? And then in one of the other containers, I have a Silenia begonia. That particular begonia will take full sun or a lot of shade, so you've got some versatility. Now, what do I do when I use something like this? I take off the basket handles, I flip that out of the pot, and with a knife I'll separate it, okay? And then I can use it in occasionally a container to get some instant effect. So if you need that for a party, that's a way to go. Now, let me also mention that if you're buying those gorgeous fuchsias, which we all do, you can pop those out of the pot and put some soil moist in the bottom, and it'll be a lot easier to take care of. So if there's any questions about that when you're in, do ask us about it. But you can see, in addition to that beautiful blue that you get in Scaevola, you can get that in Lobelia, you can get it in a Torrenia, and those are wonderful for the shade. And I believe we can go to the next picture.
Some dragon wing. Yeah.
Yes. It's amazing how much shade the dragon wing begonia will tolerate, okay? And the hummingbirds, it's a magnet. They come to it. And it's off the patio there, and I can see them, and it's fantastic.
Just so many varieties of begonias.
It's an established dragon wing there. Now, do look to the whopper and one that's called big begonia, okay? Let's come, as a matter of fact, to
bring a couple over here.
Yeah, I want to explain some of the availability.
Wow.
This is
gorgeous?
that new, and it's not new, it's been around a while, Silenia begonia. It gets about 18 inches maybe, and cascades a little bit, comes in a lot of different colors. It's just, it blooms the entire summer, and it will bloom in sun or shade, okay?
Magnificent.
Now, let me set this one back, okay? And here's a newbie. Okay, this one is called Santa Cruz Sunset. And there was a predecessor to this that was beautiful, but this one is supposed to perform even better. And it cascades a lot, has beautiful blooms. Blooms all summer, doesn't like hot afternoon sun. So now you've got beautiful in a combination or beautiful in a hanging basket. That's another one. Then we have now another one that will get 15, 18 inches maybe. And it's a double begonia. Blooms all summer long.
That's great.
It's just beautiful. Then we have the ones that we call big begonia or whopper begonia. It's sort of in between the bedding one, and some are green leaf, some are bronze leaf. The bronze leaf will take full sun or shade. The green leaf prefers afternoon shade. Okay. Now, there's a white one, and we'll show it quickly, okay? Just a beautiful one, because this, as we go into our pictures, I'll show you that's what I'm going to use to substitute.
Before we
for.
do that, we've got a list of here just of some of the begonia varieties here. Let's just quickly show that as we're gathering that. There you go. Yep, all the great ones you've mentioned there.
Absolutely. Now, do we have time to flick through a couple of these
Let's flip
pictures?
through a couple of pictures.
Okay, let's go through this. We're seeing some more pictures here. Lysimachia. We talk about thrillers, fillers, spillers, okay? Well, Lysimachia spills. It'll spill all over everywhere if you give it a chance, okay? And ivy. And the next one, please, with the caladiums. This was 3 or 4 years ago, and I really went all white.
The white theme. Yep.
The white theme. The white caladiums. I love caladiums. You know, caladiums don't love cold soil, so now hopefully the soil's warmed up somewhat.
Right.
In lieu of those white impatiens, if you decide to go white, try that white begonia. It's wonderful. The next picture, I believe, shows the, again, a different type of caladium and ferns. There's Kimberly Queen Fern, which is a tropical fern, won't live over winter here, and it grows in sun or shade, so you can't beat that when a plant does double. And guess what, Debbie? There's some more pillars there.
Love the
See,
pillars.
I changed the theme. All right, let's wind up, I think, with the Salinas begonias.
That just says welcome.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Go to the greenhouse. There's croton shown there. There's beautiful, colorful plants there that will even thrive in deep shade. And I believe that pick 10 tells us why we do this. Truly, outdoor living, enjoying the space, and our family does a great deal of outdoor living.
Great. Okay.
So that's the reason.
Super. Well, we're going to take a break. As we go out, we'll have a list for you of just some of the shade plants that we've mentioned here. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Happy Mother's Day. There you go. You see some of the shade suggestions we've got. Just got a couple of screens here with some great ideas, things that we've mentioned in the last segment. And then we will kind of switch over to sun.
But before we switch to sun, I do have to share one
two
plant
more.
that, well, it's the same plant, but most people do not know this plant. It's called Mimulus. And it is such a wonderful plant. It blooms in a lot of shade, and it blooms all summer. And you need to try it. You know, I haven't grown these for years, but I have a feeling I'm going to try those this year
Look
too.
at the
and see how there's some incredible color. But talking about plant combinations, Debbie, while you're holding that nice and still, this is what it's all about. I love the fact that the one Mimulus color picks up the spots in the other one.
That is so neat.
That's some of the things you sort of look for, you know? All right, enough of that.
Okay.
Let's go on to sun.
Sun.
All right, what about sun? Plants that love the sun love any of the sun during the day. Obviously, the strongest sun is in the afternoon.
Right.
However, if you get 5 to 6 hours of direct sunshine, you can grow most of these plants, okay? You can grow most of these plants even if they love the shade, if the shade is in the afternoon. So I hope I'm not confusing things, okay? Full sun, when you see a plant that says full sun, you can grow it if you get 5 to 6 hours direct sun, okay?
There's the key.
So I do here again have a few pictures here, and I would like to run through just a few of those, okay? This was taken last week in my garden.
Wow.
As you walk down. And it's been such a busy spring that I really have not had the chance to work in the garden yet. These plants will be replaced within the next few days. The laurel, the Autolucans laurel was in bloom, the dogwood in bloom, the azaleas in bloom, the tulips that you see and the violas were put into place last year, okay, in the fall. I grew the red boar kale, and I leave it because it goes all through the winter, and all that gold that you see is that kale in bloom. It is so delightful to me. I just love it. And so now next week it's on its way out, and it's definitely on its way out.
That's right. It's time for change.
Because it will be changed. And while we leave that picture up for just a moment, I'm going to disappear here, Debbie, and bring up
Come back.
Come back. I'm back.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to show you and explain some differences in the petunias. So let's come to the desk. There are all kinds of petunias too. The annual section bears explaining because every year industry is bringing us so many different things, okay? Petunias. You can buy petunias in 6-packs, very inexpensively, but you're going to have to work for it, because those petunias are the ones that require a great deal of deadheading. Okay. Lower maintenance, you pay more for it. Incredible plants are the Serfina and the Supertunias. They are sterile, they do not have seeds, you do not have to deadhead. Now, talk about plant combinations.
Ooh,
what looks good with, Debbie, can you hold that please,
Sure
darling?
can.
And here, these are all Supertunias, okay? Now, want to add some pizzazz to that? You can either do all these colors or blends of it, or you can come up with a touch of soft, creamy yellow, and it gives it just so exciting. Now, you want to support the petunia with another one that cascades. This one I have actually not grown before. I'm going to get a better handle on it so I can hold it up. We've got lots of, look at that.
Wow.
Now that's how you decide what you want to put in these containers. All right, let's sit that one down. And let's bring up the little beautiful little daisy, the little brachycomb. That's another substitute for the same thing. And it's pretty exciting. Now you've got fillers with the petunias. They fill and they spill. And if you bring in a taller thing like a strobilanthus, which picks up this color, you've got your container. That's it. Okay.
Great.
So those are fun things. Now, there are million bells. And soon I'll have to bring in the picture that I took at Tyson's Corner, on the corner of International Drive.
You were showing to me
Oh my
yesterday.
goodness. They have covered that huge stone wall with planters made of fabric. We'll see
great.
what that looks
It's going
like.
to be exciting.
And it's loaded with million bells. So many different, if you hold that one, Missy, and let's bring up, look at the white
I'm gonna
in
set
this.
Mr. Purple down.
There's so many different kinds in there, okay? Just
grab it. There we go.
incredible. Wonderful, wonderful. And I think if you'll get them to focus on that for a minute,
They are
I'm
doing a
gonna
great job of that.
reach down and find another petunia or two. And I absolutely am going to have to apologize just a little bit, except that I promised Stephanie absolutely that I would show this. She is so
Love that
into
color.
this new variety. It's called a potunia. It's much more upright, less cascading, and has some of the yummiest colors in it you could imagine. I have not grown this one. She grew it last year and said she just fell in love with it. So I'm going to give it a try.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
And there's another new one that I haven't tried.
We got to take a break here in a second.
Oh, I don't want to take a break. Isn't that pretty? I love the bigger petunia matched with the million bells. I know that we had some pictures that we're going to show, but we'll have to run through those in the next
Yeah, we'll
one.
do that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we've
Absolutely.
got more ideas for you. Great colors for Mom.
Umbrella.
There we go, umbrella. Getting a little rain this weekend, but it's giving us the needed rain, and we're making the flowers beautiful, and we're going to have some beautiful weather this weekend anyway.
Absolutely.
I know it.
So,
I just know it.
We're going to go gardening. Okay. I've told my girls about this. For years,
Hint,
to
hint, no.
protect my hands, I have used Bag Balm, and I still use it, okay? But I discovered this new line of Australian things, and it's a hand balm, and I just absolutely love it. Plus, it's so fragrant. I always have on hand the
Gardener's Hand Balm.
yeah,
Lemon tea tree.
Smells
Let me hold
so
this up. Yep,
so
let's see if we
good.
can put this up here so we can see what that looks like.
Yeah, and then I've got my fox
Whoops.
gloves.
There we go. Oh, and your foxgloves.
My fox gloves.
Gotta have your
Absolutely.
foxgloves.
So I'm going to rub on this cream and pull on that fox glove. If I'm working with wet things, I use some of the little disposable things.
Oh, good idea.
That is the best glove I
Right.
have ever had, and so I keep telling you all about it. Okay.
That's right. Because it's always good. It's always good.
Absolutely.
Okay, we got a few more
Yeah,
pictures
we got
to show.
some pictures to go through. We talked about thrillers, fillers, spillers, and these combinations of containers.
That says it all, right there.
If you want a thriller, you can hardly beat a canna. They're incredible. They're just beautiful. And then that one is filled with coleus. And there are coleus that do well in the sun, and then the sun ones do well in the shade. It's boundless color there. And I think there's also some Vinca annual. And if you want one that likes a hot, dry place, that's a good one to choose. And then there are lots of wonderful things spilling out. So think in terms of that. And the next picture, which you've seen before, and I'll show again and again, I'm sure, because it's such a joy. On my own front steps, I almost always do something. Let's move
Can we
on
flip
to
that
the
picture? You may be having a little glitch.
There we go. A little glitch there. Okay. This was incredible this particular year, and I've done combinations, but invariably I'll still put some of this in. There is lotus vine, there's gray dacandra vine, and there's the solanum vine, which Debbie, maybe when this picture goes off, you can pick up this pot in a minute.
Okay.
Now, coming out of that are some of the bedding begonias and the gomphrena with the purple. That is spiller. The spillers are taking the main lead in this one, don't you think?
Yeah, really.
The spillers. All right, let's come back to Debbie for a second before we go to the next picture, because this is a fun thing. Very few people know about this vine. And a lot of people call it a sweet potato vine, and it isn't. It is of the solanum family. It weaves its way through nicely through things, and it's wonderful on small trellis. And Debbie is holding in her hand a miniature little.
Kind of looks like a bird cage, but
It's not a bird cage.
I know.
Okay. We have
It's an
larger
accent.
ones.
It's a garden accent.
Absolutely. We have wonderful large ones too, and this is a great gifty idea. But this is a smaller one that I found in the little fairy section. Wow, if you're into that, you really want to buy this. But that solanum vine is incredible.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, back to the
All right,
pictures.
let's move on to some other suggestions here. You can also go to the perennial house. You have annuals for your basic color because they're what gives you the long-term summer color. You can add things from the greenhouse, particularly foliage color, or go to the perennial house, because if you're careful, you can find some plants that will also bloom all summer. Or if you want to, for instance, feature a lily, a hybrid lily, you'd simply sink that pot into your container and then take it out when it's finished. So that's doable too. This is a coleus that is a total color pickup with a gaillardia. And boy, are there some new gaillardias on the market. So go over and have a look at some of those things. And in the next picture is ginger. We have a few in the annual section, but there are also gingers in the greenhouse section. And guess what it's shown with? My favorite gazing balls. And I was looking at those the other day, and how hardy these gazing balls really are. I love the reflecting properties of those. And it's shown even better in the next picture. I like the way it reflects the house. It even reflects the camera. So there's a gazing ball in the next picture also. There we go.
Yeah. And
wonderful.
the statuary in the other picture too.
I do
Just,
too.
you know, again, great gift
And then we'll
ideas for
sort
Mom.
of end up on the thought of accessories in the garden with
Last
the
picture.
final picture that we have here. I enjoy these things, these accessories. They're not expensive. That you can't see them all at once, okay?
Right.
You know, they're hidden in little nooks and crannies. And so this little one is actually sitting on the deck rail, and it has the dragon wing begonia cascading over its head.
Beautiful.
So this is how I use it. I do want to, if we have time
Yeah, I
in
was
this
gonna say,
segment, just simply to say, when you're creating these containers, and if you've got any question in your minds, please ask. But I mentioned the use of soil moist. This, I wouldn't do a container without it. Follow your instructions, put it in the bottom 2/3 of your container. It is wonderful, I never turned that the right way. Wonderful stuff, okay? But do follow the directions. A
Right.
little, I mean, the right amount's good, too much is not. All right, you can either do that, or there are mats available. You can
that's an easy way, yeah.
unhook the chain on your hanging baskets, slip a mat underneath, and I'll tell you, you'd be surprised how much easier it is to take care of it. There's also little pegs that you can push down into those. Okay,
That's
I
great.
just can't be with this. Does not replace watering.
No.
Nope,
No,
it does not. But
Okay.
it makes it a lot easier. Yes.
Well, when we come back, we're going to take your phone calls. So if you have any questions, please give us a call, 703-387, excuse me, 387-1046. With our phones, we can't remember what numbers are anymore. So stay tuned for that. And as we go out, we're going to list some of those sun-loving plants for you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're taking your phone calls during this and the next segment, 703-387-1046. Before we get to our first caller, though, you wanted to make a quick point about the possible cold.
I really do, and I've definitely listened to forecasts and chatted about forecasts and so forth. And we've heard different things. We've heard that Sunday night can be cold, Monday night can be cold. What I'm learning now is that probably most of this cold is going to be in West Virginia. Probably won't hit us. Now, this is a freak thing, right? It's just been ages.
Not used
I
to it
can't
being cold
remember,
or
you
frosty
know,
type of things this
by
late.
this late into
Yeah.
May. But it's not an issue. I've already planted things in my vegetable garden that are tender. I have already put in some containers, and my plants are all lined out to do that. But there's some easy ways to take care of it. You know, if it's a hanging basket or if it's baskets that you're taking to your mother, they can be set inside if indeed we get below 40.
Right.
And you don't really know. If it gets in that 40 range, you need to not take a chance. The easiest thing to use for covering these plants, because it's the frost landing on the leaves that's the issue, and you don't want to use plastic. Don't want to do that. That doesn't work. But there is a very soft product called Harvest Guard, and it comes in different sizes and is so useful. If you've got those things planted already, just put this over them. Now, the beauty of this is if you chose to, you can leave it for a couple of nights. This is the same product that I use in the vegetable garden to keep the insects off of it, okay? Rain goes through it and sunlight goes through it. So this is a great product. If you don't have that, put a bed sheet over it. It's the great thing. It's easy.
Yeah.
And now that you would take off during the day. Let's say that we were going to have cold Sunday night, Monday night, whatever. Okay, listen to the forecast, because, as I said, if it drops into that 40 and below range, you need to be concerned. But we're told that we don't think in this area that's going to be the case. And it's time to get out there and garden. I was amused at this cute little statue. This little statue, it's not a statue, whatever it is. It's an ant, obviously.
It's an ant.
Looks like he's kicking up his heels. I'm kicking up my. It's time to go and get this done.
That's
so
right.
let's do it, you know.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to our first phone call. And thank you for holding. Tito is calling from Rockville. How are you today?
Good, and you? How are you doing,
Great.
Peggy and Debbie?
Great.
Good morning.
Good
What
morning.
can we do for you?
I just wanted to ask you real quick. You were talking about the canna plant, and is that a plant that I can leave outside in the winter, or do it has to come in?
You can leave a canna in the ground most of the time. You will every now and then lose it. Mine are all coming back from last year. It's not an issue. Some winters that doesn't work, okay? But I don't dig mine very often. I leave them in the ground most of the time. But if you've got a question about it, then dig
Excellent,
it.
that's perfect. And then second question, Bartzilla, the Bartzilla peonies, when do they bloom? How early or how late do they bloom? Because I have one that I bought last year, and it's very nice. It's doing very good, but it hasn't bloomed yet, and I'm wondering if it's going to bloom this year or not.
You would see buds if it's going to bloom this year.
Okay.
Do you see any buds?
No, not on that one.
Okay, then it's not going to bloom this year. Most of the peonies are coming into bloom, and granted, the different varieties spread that season, whether it's some of the new crosses that are fantastic, the tree peonies or even the regular peonies. So it's an absolutely beautiful plant, and there's another wonderful Mother's Day thing. But if you don't see buds, it is not going to bloom this year, okay?
Okay.
So you'd have to figure, if you just put it in last year, maybe it just needs another year to get established.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Happy
you.
gardening.
Thank
Have
you.
a
Happy
great
Mother's Day
weekend.
to you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is Beverly, who's calling from Chantilly. Hi, Beverly.
Hi, love the show, and you all are so
you.
informative, and I watch you every week. I love it.
That's
love
great.
it. We have a new wooden deck, and I have clay pots. I've used the clay pots for several years and have really good luck with my flowers in them. However, when we replaced the floor, there was a lot of stain where the pots were sitting. Now, I have the pots on trays, and I also have some wooden boxes, but everything was stained. And the problem is, I love where I have these pots. I mean, the position of the flowers are exactly where they work with my furniture arrangement and everything. And is there anything I could do to prevent the staining of the new floor
She's
deck?
got the perfect answer for you here.
It's in my hand. And I have done that. I really goofed up my deck for sure, you know. I was speaking to my son who's in the construction business. I think it's time for a new deck.
Oh, no. Here's a Mother's Day. What a hint for a Mother's Day present.
Okay, here is what you need to do, and do it from day one, okay? There are wonderful dollies out there. And what this does is, they're on wheels. It lifts those plants up off the deck. It allows air to go underneath so that you're not going to get all that rotting or staining or whatever. There's different kinds, okay? So I know in the greenhouses where most of ours are at
right.
Fair Oaks location. But buy caddies or dollies or whatever you want to call them. Plant caddies is what this one says. It's worth the investment. They last a long time. And don't sit your container, even in a saucer, directly on your deck. You will not be happy.
That's a great point, Beverly.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. I might not have had the opportunity to share that.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and happy Mother's Day.
And you
You
too.
too. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, it looks like we better take another break, so we'll come back with more phone calls in just a couple of minutes. everybody. Welcome back. Our time is flying by, so let's get right to
Absolutely.
Carolyn, who's calling from Pasadena. Are you there, Carolyn?
Yes, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I have a question about a Cherokee dogwood tree. We had planted it last year, and we have a brick patio, and we dug a big hole and put it in, and we pulled down the burlap, and it was a lot of clay in the ball of it. So we just planted it down in there. We put all new soil and leaf mulch, all the things that they told you need to put in it, and it grew. And then last fall, the leaves just like dried up on it real early, and just start falling off. And they didn't turn anything. And then now this spring, it's only like half the tree. The leaves have come back on again. It's like, oh, good, it's coming back, and the leaves are like real pretty and all. And now the edge of the leaves are starting to dry off again.
Okay. It's guesswork when you're trying to diagnose something with just a brief explanation. The safest thing
Right.
for you to do is to go to a plant clinic, okay? We'd love you to come to us. I don't know if you're close enough to do that. But, and bring a branch, a small branch in. Something tells me that since this started last fall, somewhere in this situation, there's too much water involved. Usually,
Too much water.
that's the case, okay? Either the
Okay.
soil is not draining well, or maybe you overwatered, but damage was done to the root system, which is why it did not come back full blast this spring. But I'm going to leave it there, Carolyn. I do feel that water is the key to most of these issues. It's either too much water or people don't water it enough. But
Well,
oftentimes it's too
yeah.
much.
Yeah, I may have overwatered because
Right.
that's what I thought it needed.
Right.
Being out in the center of the bricks, with all the bricks around and everything.
I
but I had
suspect
to
it's
water
a
it.
lack of drainage,
Yeah.
honey.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
But see, we have so much sand. We're Pasadena, Maryland,
Gotcha.
and that's our whole soil is sand.
Okay.
And we thought maybe that was the problem. It's everything around here. I just have to water a lot because of the sand.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if it's a very, very sandy soil, okay, because I'm not familiar with exactly what
Right.
your soil is like.
And we have wild dogwoods around us, and they grow beautifully.
Right. Yes, that's fine, but the challenge is to get it established and get that
Right.
watering right for that. But somehow or other, the water is the key. But do take it in to have it looked at and diagnosed for sure, okay?
Great.
Oh, I appreciate
Thank you
that.
for
Thanks for the
watching.
call.
Thank you for your
Thank you
help.
for calling, Carolyn.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Marie is calling from Fredericksburg. Hi, Marie.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I love your show. I've become addicted to
Oh,
it.
ooh, I like to hear that.
Yeah. I have a question for my daughter. She lives down in Roanoke, and she bought a house a couple of years ago and inherited what she calls an Asia lily.
Asiatic lilies, yes.
It grows real tall, produces beautiful flowers.
Right.
But she wants to, this year, I guess, propagate it, separate the roots or something so she could move it in a different part of her garden.
Okay.
But she's not sure how to do that.
Well, if you do that right now, you'll lose any bloom connected with it, okay? If it has little offshoots, you can give it a try. The best time to do it is in the fall. And yes, you can, even the little scales themselves, or that sometimes some of the lilies have little berries that'll start new ones, but you can do it from the scales. Best time to do that's in the fall. Okay? So tell her to give that a try. Okay.
Does she separate the roots?
It's a bulb.
It's a bulb.
And that bulb has little scales on it, okay? So you can even pull some of those scales away and start it that way. But I wouldn't do it until fall.
In the fall.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thank you very, very
Thank you,
much.
Marie.
I appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Marie.
Great.
You have a great day.
Thanks, you
Okay.
too. Wonderful weekend, and happy Mother's Day.
Can
Well,
I?
yeah.
Do we have time to share?
Well, we have just a couple minutes left, and I don't think we have any other callers, so
All right, we need to do that then. I'm so into this Made in America thing and having really good tools, and I've shown you this before, but oh, this is one, comes in different sizes, but this is great for making those containers with. And you know, if I can duck down again, everybody that does a lot of containers needs a
There's a tool, boy.
I can't survive without these two tools.
That's a heavy-duty one.
It's wonderful. It's great. So
It absolutely
grab your hat, grab your gloves, and go gardening because
I was going to say, and mention this shirt, gardening cheaper than therapy. How
Absolutely.
true. How true.
It is my therapy.
Do we have those to sell?
Yes.
We have these shirts to sell? Another great Mother's Day
I
present.
picked this out of this wonderful, wonderful group that just came in, and I said, got to do that. I
that's
believe
great.
it.
You know, one
Yeah.
thing we did not mention, too, we're talking about all these beautiful containers and long-living plants, but some people really do love the cut flowers.
Oh, yes,
and
they do.
We've got those as well,
They
especially at
want
our
the
Gainesville.
roses, not
That's
the
right.
bush.
That's right. Our Gainesville and Fair Oaks locations always carry cut flowers and have arrangements
Yes.
and that type of thing.
They're
So take advantage of that. Well, next week we got a special guest, Dr. Michael Rupp is going to be here. We're going to talk about the pollinators.
And that's going to be fun. I've
It's
seen
gonna
a
be
few
fun.
of those pictures.
That's
It's
right.
just
That's
great.
right.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend and happy Mother's Day. Bye-bye.
Happy Mother's Day.